Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. We have started our first chapter in accountancy, where we were discussing just the basic concepts of accounts. And before proceeding further in this chapter, we will first recall and revise everything that we have discussed. And just in case you have any doubt, you can ask me, right? So let's start. In the last class, I think we have discussed the meaning of accounting, right? Meaning of accounting, I have told you that accounting is basically an art of recording the financial transactions of a business in a systematic manner. Is it clear to everyone? Accounting is basically an art of recording the financial statement of a business in a systematic manner. And as we know that there are various transactions that are carried out in a business during the period of 1 year, and all these transactions are basically collectively impact the position of a business. So accounting, what does accounting do? Accounting helps us in determining the position of business at the end of the year, also enable us to evaluate the profit and losses incurred by the business during the accounting period. So basically, what I have told you, that accounting is an art of recording the financial transactions. See, this is very important. Accounting basically record only financial transaction, any business activity, any business transaction that does not involve monetary transaction, that does not affect the finance of the business. It will not be recorded, or it will not be considered during the process of accounting. All right, therefore we call it is basically an art of recording the financial transactions only. What does accounting do? Accounting helps us in determining the position of the business at the end of the year, right? Whether a business is making profit or losses. With the help of accounting, we can easily evaluate the position of the business. All right. And I have also taught you about the process of accounting. I have told you that there are 7 steps that is involved in accounting. First is to identify the financial transaction. Once we identify the transaction, then what do we do then? After identifying financial transaction, what do we do after identifying? Anyone, please tell me. Samiksha, after identifying the financial transaction and event, what is the next step?
We measure it.
Measure it, correct. So first of all, we have to identify all these the transaction that are undertaken in the business, uh, all those out of all those transactions which are affecting the finance of the company. So after identifying the financial transaction, we measure the transaction. So what is the meaning of identification? Identifying or identification is the process of determining which transaction and events are to be recorded in the financial statement or books of account. And accounting record only those transactions which are of financial nature. Anything which is not financial, which is not related with the finance, will not be recorded in accounting. Say for example, employees did the strike. Suppose there is a XYZ company, and employees of XYZ company did the strike. They are not coming to the factory, they are not contributing in the production. So strike is a financial strike is a does strike is financial or not? Answer is no. We cannot measure the strike by the employees in financial terms. Thus strike by the employees will not be recorded in the accounting. All right, after identifying, we measure the identified transaction. What do you mean by measurement, sir? Accounting measure the business transaction in terms of common measuring unit. Say if you are preparing the books of account in India, then you will measure each and every transaction in terms of rupees. And if you are preparing the books of account in America, you will be recording all the business transaction in terms of dollars. If you are in Saudi, then you will be recording everything in real, right? So depending upon where you are carrying your business, you will record all the business transaction in the currency which is basically used in that particular country. So every transaction have the common measuring unit. If you are recording the value of plant and machinery in the books of account, then suppose you are measuring the plant and machinery in dollars, then you will have to measure the stock, you will have to measure the let's say for example debtors, creditors, everything in terms of dollars. After measuring the financial transaction, we will record those transaction. And where do we record the transaction? First of all, we record the transaction in the journal. Journal is also known as book of original entry. First of all, any transaction, any business transaction is recorded in the journal. All right. And what is a journal? I will teach you about this in the upcoming classes. So only thing you will have to remember for now is that there is a book which is called journal, and first transaction is made in the journal. First recording is done in the journal. After recording the transaction in the journal book, we classify all the financial transaction. Classification is the process of basically collecting the similar transaction at one place by opening different ledger book. What is a ledger? This will also I will explain you in the upcoming classes. So basically you will have to remember recording is done in the journal book, and for classification we make ledgers. All right. And after classification is done, we summarize all the financial transaction. And summarizing the financial transaction basically involves preparation of three more statements, which include trial balance, trading and profit and loss account, and balance sheet. All right. Then after summarizing, we analyze and interpret the data. Whatever financial transaction that we have recorded in the financial accounts, we interpret and analyze all the financial statement to make out something, to make a meaningful assessment of it, so that we can take better decisions regarding the business. So after analysis, we communicate the financial statement or financial position to the users of the business. All right. So basically there are 7 steps in the process of accounting. First of all, identification, then measurement, then recording, then classification. After classification, we summarize. After summarize, we analyze and interpret, and then we communicate to the users. Okay, so after this, we have also covered what is assets. I think I have told you that assets are properties owned by the business, and we can also define the asset as anything which enables firm to get cash or economic benefit in the future, right? Anything on the basis of which firm can generate a profit or earn cash is basically considered as asset. And asset, I have told you that we can classify or categorize the asset into 2 part: current asset and non-current assets, right? Can any one of you please tell me what are current assets? Ayush, what are current assets? Ayush.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah.
Sir, assets which are owned by the business with the assets which are owned by the business and which have the ability to convert it into cash are known as current assets.
Perfect. Very good. Very good. And Samiksha, what are non-current assets? What are non-current assets, Samiksha? Do you remember non-current assets? Say yes or no. Samiksha.
Ma'am, sir, I can just tell that it has fixed assets and all that.
Sorry, it has
Fixed assets.
fixed asset. All right. Current assets are basically assets which are held by the firm or business with the purpose of converting it into cash. You can also say that all the assets which are held by the business for the purpose of resale are included in the current asset. And non-current assets are those assets which are basically held by the business not for resale, rather these are held by the business for helping in the operations of business. For example, business is having machinery, furniture, building. These assets will help the business in carrying out the operation of the business effectively. These are not held by the business for the purpose of resale. So basic difference between the current asset and non-current asset is that it can be current asset are held with the intention to convert it into cash, and non-current assets are not held with the intention of converting it into the cash. So current asset basically include items such as stock, inventory, goods, debtors, bank, and cash. I think you are very well aware of stock and inventory goods, right? Bank, you must be aware of what are banks and cash. But I think you must not be aware about the debtors. See, debtors are basically our customers. Debtors are customers whom we have sold the goods on credit. All those customers whom we have sale goods on credit are basically debtors for the business. Suppose I'm selling my mobile phone to Ayush, and Ayush is not making any payment as of now. He's saying that he will make payment after a week or after a month. So I am basically selling my phone to Ayush on credit. So Ayush will be considered as a debtor for me, debtor for the business. All right. So debtors are also considered as a current asset for the business. Similarly, non-current asset, those assets which are held by a business not with the purpose to resell, but are held either as investment or facilitates business operation. Anything which a business is basically holding for facilitating the business operation or keeping it as investment will be treated as a non-current asset. The purpose is not to convert it into cash. So basically, non-current asset generally include plant and machinery, building, long-term investments. These are non-current assets. All right. And I think I have also explained that asset can be further categorized into two more parts, tangible and intangible. Basically, tangible and non-tangible asset are the further classification of non-current assets. Non-current asset can be further classified as tangible asset and intangible assets. Steve, do you have any idea what are tangible assets? Can you tell me what are tangible assets? Steve Sibu. Steve, am I audible to you? All right. Samiksha, can you tell me what are tangible assets or intangible assets?
Well, those are the assets that have, like, we can touch and which can be seen, that have a physical existence.
Physically, shabash. Very good. Nice. Can you, Ayush, can you name some tangible assets?
Sorry, sir, no.
Samiksha, can you try? Can you name a few tangible assets? Machine, right? All right.
Whatever, like maybe land.
Land, perfect. Land, building, machinery, furniture, anything that we can touch are tangible assets. And what are intangible assets? Intangible are basically property of the firm which cannot be seen or touched, just like copyright, softwares, then patent, goodwill of the firm, goodwill of the business. These are all assets. These are all property of the business, but these properties cannot be touched, cannot be seen. So therefore, these are intangible assets. So tangible asset can be defined as those assets which have the physical existence. They can be seen and touched, like land, building, machinery, computer, furniture. There are so many tangible assets. Intangible assets which do not have the physical existence. They cannot be seen, neither they can be touched. And generally, intangible assets include patent, trademark of the firm, goodwill of the business, softwares. These are all intangibles. All right. So moving forward, we will discuss liabilities in today's class. What is a liability? Any one of you, do you guys have any idea what is liability? Liability are basically a kind of obligation upon the business. Any obligation on business are basically known as liability. Suppose I have taken a certain sum of money from Ayush. Suppose I have taken 1 lakh rupee from Ayush. Then after taking this amount, I am basically, I have obligation to repay this amount. So this obligation in accounts is basically called liability. So liabilities means kya hai? Liabilities means, it means amount which is used, which is owed by the business. Amount which is owed by the business. Amount which business need to repay is basically liability. Liability towards, there are two kinds of liabilities. We can categorize liability as internal liability and external liability. Suppose the owner have contributed certain sum of money to the business, then it is considered as an internal liability. And if business have borrowed certain amount of money from some third party, from some outsider, then it will be treated as an external liability. So liability can be categorized as internal and external. If the owner of the business, see, first of all, you have to understand that business and owner are two different entity. In accounts, business is treated as a different entity and owner of the business is treated as a different entity. So both are different. Business will be completely different from his owner. We cannot say owner and business is one and the same thing. Owner is different and business is different. So when a person being a owner to the business contributes certain sum of money in the business, this will be treated as a liability for the business. Suppose I'm a owner for a particular business. I have invested 5 lakh in a particular business. This 5 lakh will be treated as a capital. I have made an investment of 5 lakh. This is called capital. But this is capital for me. But for business, it will be considered as a liability. All right. So basically, if if owner of the business contributed certain sum of money to the business, it will be treated as an internal liability. And if business has borrowed the fund from some third party, from some outsider, it will be treated as an external liability. See, liability towards the owner of the business is termed as internal, and liability toward the outsider is termed as external. All right. We can further categorize liability into two more parts. It can be classified as current liability and non-current liability, just like the assets. Remember, assets can be classified as current asset and non-current asset. And what is the basic difference of current asset and non-current asset? Current asset are kept with the purpose, with the intention of converting it into cash, and non-current assets are kept with are not kept with the intention of converting it into cash. Similarly, liabilities can also be categorized as current liability and non-current liability. What are current liability? That liability which is payable by the firm within a period of 12 months. See, any liability, any kind of liability basically requires repayment. If I have borrowed 1 lakh rupee from Ayush, then it is a liability and this need to be repaid to the Ayush. I'll have to repay the amount to Ayush. So liability is always required to be repaid. All right. So any liability which requires repayment within a period of 12 months is considered as a current liability. For example, suppose I have a business and I have purchased goods on credit from some supplier. I have purchased goods of rupees 50,000 from supplier, and supplier has asked me to repay the amount within a period of 3 months or within a period of 4 months. So basically, because I have purchased the goods on credit, this will be treated as a liability. And because this liability is to be repaid within a period of 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months, or within a period of less than a year, therefore this liability will be treated as a current liability. All right. But suppose I have taken borrowing from the bank. I have applied in the bank and borrowed certain amount of fund from the bank, and bank have given me the amount for 3-year period. Bank will ask for repayment only after completion of 3 years. So in that case, amount that I have borrowed from the bank is also a liability. But this liability need not to be paid within a period of 12 months. It will be repaid after completion of 12 months. It will be in fact repaid after 3-year period. So this liability, because it does not require repayment within a period of 12 months, it will not be treated as a current liability. Rather, it will be considered as a non-current liability. Is it clear? Is it clear? Basic difference between current liability and non-current liability?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right. So basically, liability can be categorized as current and non-current. The liability which is payable by the firm within a period of 12 months is current liability. Current liability generally include these kind of liabilities: creditors, bills payable, short-term loans, etc. And what are creditors, sir? Creditors, just like debtors. Debtors, I have just explained you debtors. Who are debtors? Debtors are basically our customers to whom we have sold goods on credit are our basically debtors. Similarly, all those people who have provided us goods on credit, who have given us goods on credit, are basically creditors. All right. So basically, to whom we have to make payment are basically called creditors. From whom we have purchased goods on credit are basically our creditors. So creditors, bills payable, short-term loans, these are all generally considered as current liability. And what are non-current liability? That liability which is payable after a period of more than a year, that does not require repayment or payment within a period of 12 months, are non-current liability. And usually it include long-term loans, debenture, etc. These are all non-current liabilities. All right, moving forward, next is capital. What is capital? See, I was just explaining you that suppose a person have started a new business. Suppose there is Mr. X. Wait a minute, let me explain this concept on notebook. Give me a minute, guys. Suppose there is Mr. X and Mr. X is starting a new business. Starting a new business, right? And Mr. X is investing, is making an investment of rupees, say for example 50 lakh rupees. So investment by Mr. X in his business will be considered as a capital for the business. Capital, right? So what is capital? Capital is basically the amount invested by the owner of the business, or capital. Amount invested by the owner of the business. He's the owner of the business. Owner is also known as proprietor. So amount invested by proprietor of the business is basically called capital. And if suppose business is of partnership nature, so owner will be known as partners. So any amount invested by the proprietor or partner in the business will be considered as capital for the business. And usually capital are in the form of money, but sometime capital is brought also in the form of assets. Say for example, there are two partners X and Y, both are making investment in the firm, but Mr. X is contributing in the form of money. He's contributing, say for example 5 lakh in the business, but Mr. Y is saying that he will contribute in the form of asset. Suppose he will bring plant and machinery, he will bring building in the firm, or he will also bring furniture for the firm. So this will also be considered as capital. So capital can be either in monetary terms or in the form of assets. So basically what are capital? Capital is the amount invested by the proprietor or partner. It can be either in the form of money, it can either be in the form of assets. All right. So basically capital is treated as liability for the business. Pay attention. Why capital is treated as a liability for the business? Why capital is treated as a liability for the business? Because I have just told you that in accounts we follow business entity concept. Business entity concept. What is business entity concept? Business entity concept states that owner of the business and the business are both different entities, are both different legal entities. Owner is separate and business will be separate. This is called business entity or separate separate legal entity concept, we can also say that. So basically, because owner is different, business is different, if owner is making investment in the business, it will be considered as liability for the business. Business have to repay this much amount. Suppose Mr. X is making 50 lakh of investment in the form of capital, then 50 lakh will be treated as liability for the business. All right, is it clear? So what is capital? Capital is basically the amount or money or asset contributed by the owner of the business. All right, capital, value of capital increases as the firm generates profit. Say, suppose Mr. X has contributed 50 lakhs of rupees in the business. So initially his capital was 50 lakhs, but firm has also business has also generated 5 lakhs of profit. So basically total capital will be 55 lakh. What I'm saying is that value of capital increases as the profit of the firm increases. On the other hand, if there are losses incurred by the firm, then overall value of capital will decline when there are losses in the firm. All right, so value of capital increases with the increase in profit, and value of capital decreases with the decrease in profit. And also, if suppose Mr. X withdrew certain sum of money, suppose initially he have made 50 lakhs of investment in the business, and after some time he made a withdrawal of rupees, say for example 10 lakh, he withdrew 10 lakh from the business, then it will reduces the value of overall capital. So basically I have made 2 points. Capital increases as the firm or as the business generates more profit, and secondly, value of capital declines when the owner of the business withdraw certain amount of fund for his personal use from the business. All right, is it clear to everyone? Is it clear? Ayush, Samiksha, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ayush, is it clear to you as well? Ayush has just left. All right. Ayush, are you there? Okay. So just a minute, guys. So capital, how can we define capital? Capital is the amount invested by the proprietor or partner of the business, and it may be in the form of money, asset, or asset having monetary value, right? It may be in the form of money or asset having monetary value. Next is, it is a liability for the business towards the proprietor or partner, which increases with the further investment and profit. As the partner and proprietor makes more investment, value of capital increases. As the firm generates more amount of profit, capital will increase. All right. And on the other hand, it decreases when the owner withdraw or the firm makes losses. All right. And the now question is, why capital is treated as a liability for the business? Because of business entity concept, it is considered as a liability, because under business entity concept, business is a separate legal entity and owners are separate. Due to this, capital are treated as liability for the business. Next is receipts. So we have in today's class, we have till now we have covered the meaning of liability, right? We have covered liability. I have classified liability into 2 parts, current liability and non-current liability. Then we have also covered capital. All right, there is no classification of capital. Let's move for next is receipts. What are receipts? Receipts are basically amount which is received by the firm, business, or receivable by the firm after selling anything, selling asset, goods, or rendering of any kind of services, right? So any payment, any income that firm is going to receive or has received after selling goods or services are basically considered as receipts for the business. And we can also categorize receipts into two parts. There are two types of receipt. One is revenue receipt and then there is capital receipt. What are revenue receipts? Revenue receipt are basically receipts are basically receipts which are earned by the business in the normal course of business. During the regular course of business, whatever the income that a firm received during the normal course of business are basically called revenue receipts. Say for example, sale of goods, right? A firm has received 5 lakh after selling certain quantity of a commodity. So basically it will be treated as a revenue receipt. So any amount received as a normal course of business are called revenue receipts. And on the other hand, amount received or receivable against the transaction which are not revenue, anything which is received not from a regular source of business, not from a regular source of business, are capital receipt. Just for example, say suppose there is a retail shop, Samiksha, suppose there is a retail shop and just a minute. All right, so suppose there is a retail shop and retail shop is selling goods. Suppose retail shop is selling biscuits, soaps, detergent, shampoo, these kind of things. So amount collected on account of sale of these goods will be treated as revenue receipt, because selling of inventory, selling of goods are basically regular course of activity for the retail shop, right? But if a firm starts selling plant, machinery, furnitures, so do you think selling of machinery, selling of plant are regular activity for a retail shop, Samiksha?
No, sir.
No. So if a firm receives income on account of sale of building, on account of sale of plant, machinery, or anything other than grocery item or the inventories in the shop, will be treated as a capital receipt. So one, you can also differentiate it as like revenue receipt are regular source of income. All those income which arises from the regular source of income are basically called revenue receipt, and all those income which are not from the regular source of a regular source are basically treated as a capital receipt. All right, like I have also given an example, such as sale of goods or rendering of services are known as revenue receipts. And here I have mentioned such as receipt on account of sale of building and machinery, loans, etc. Loan, see, loan is basically a receipt, right? But loan is not the receipt from the operation of the business. Loan is not something that you have received on account of business, on account of regular source of business. So basically loan is not treated as a revenue receipt, it will be considered as a capital receipt. So I have explained 3 points till now today. First of all, we have learned what are liabilities. Liabilities can be categorized as current and non-current. Then I have explained capital. Capital can be basically, there is no further classification of capital, right? But what is capital? Capital are basically money or asset having monetary value, that is basically contributed or invested by the partner or proprietor of the business. All right, then we have covered receipts. Receipts can be further classified as revenue and capital. All right, similarly there is one more thing, expenditures. So I think all of you would have pretty much idea about what are expenditure. So can any one of you please tell me what is the meaning of expenditure? What do you understand by the term expenditure? Samiksha or Ayush or Steve, anyone? What do you understand by the term expenditure? I think it is easy. You can answer this. Yeah,
It is the amount that we spend on goods or assets.
Yeah, correct. So anything, any amount that we have spent on purchase of goods or for receiving any kind of service is basically called expenditure, right? Amount spent for acquiring asset or goods or services are known as expenditure. And we can also categorize expenditure just like we have categorized receipts. Receipts can be categorized as revenue receipts and capital receipts. Similarly, expenditure are also of two types, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. See, in case of receipts, I have told you all those receipts which we receive from the regular source of business are basically revenue receipts. All those receipts that we receive from regular source of activity, regular business source, are basically revenue receipts. Similarly, expenditure made on regular operations of the business, expenditure made on regular operations of the business are treated as revenue expenditure. Like, what are the regular operations of business? Suppose you have hired an employee for working in your business, then you will have to make payment, make salary, make payment of salary to that employee. This will be treated as your regular expenditure, operational expenditure. So basically this will be in account. This is called revenue expenditure. All right. So expenditure, the benefit of, we can also explain it like this: ke expenditure, the benefit of which is consumed or exhausted within a period of 1 year. Expenditure, the benefit of which is consumed or exhausted within a period of 1 year, is known as revenue expenditure. Usually we include salary, rent, electricity expenses, etc. under this category. So you can explain revenue expenditure in two ways. Number one, any expenditure which has been incurred on the regular activity, main activity of the business, are basically called revenue expenditure. Or any expenditure, the benefit of which can only be availed within a period of 1 year, are known as revenue expenditure. Suppose you have hired an employee and you are making payment for his salary. So salary that you are paying, benefit of salary can be received only for 1 month period. All right. So anything, the period of the benefit of which can be exhausted, will be exhausted within a period of 1 year, are known as revenue expenditure. And usually, see, salaries, rent, electricity expenses, these are all expenditure which do not have long-term benefits. If you are paying rent for a period of 1 month, you can have the benefit for the period of 1 month only. Suppose you are acquiring or hiring a building for business operation, and you will have to pay 15,000 as rent. So after paying 15,000, you will only be able to use that particular place for a period of 1 month only. Rent cannot give you benefit benefit for a period of more than a month, more than a year, let's say. So all those expenditure which can the benefit of which is basically consumed within a period of 1 year are revenue expenditure. And what will be capital expenditure? It is an expenditure incurred for acquiring asset or for improving the asset which will increase the earning capacity of the business. Usually, if we differentiate revenue and capital expenditure, we can say that revenue expenditure gives you the benefit for a period less than 1 year, and capital expenditure will give you benefit for a period that exceed more than a year. Suppose you have purchased a machinery. So machinery will be useful for so many years. Machinery will give you benefit for 3, 4, 5 or 10 years, depending upon the quality of machinery that you are buying. And suppose you have made expenditure on purchase of building. So building is something that will give you benefit for a longer period of time, not only for 1 year. Purchase of furniture. Suppose you have bought a furniture. So furniture will clearly give you the benefit for period of more than a year. So all those expenditure which can give you benefit for a period exceeding a year are basically known as capital expenditure. And all those expenditure, the benefit of which will get exhausted within a period of 1 year, are basically revenue expenditure. All right. Okay, next. So first of all, before moving forward, let me just ask few questions.
Sir?
So yeah.
Sir, for the expenditure, it is only used for the business, right? Like it can't be for personal use, right?
Yeah. So Steve, are you there? Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Steve, can you please tell me what is the meaning of capital? What is capital?
Sir, capital is
Yes. Capital is basically amount invested by the proprietor, owner of the business, right?
yes, sir.
Is it necessary that such amount must be in terms of money, or it can be in the form of asset as well?
Yes, sir.
Capital can be in the form of asset, or it must be in the form of money only.
Yes. It can be form of asset, sir.
That's okay. All right. Ayush, can you please tell me what are the various what are the different classification of receipts? How can we classify receipts? Ayush. Ayush, are you there?
Sir, can you just repeat your question, please?
I'm
Your
okay,
voice
no
is
problem.
lagging a bit.
No problem. Ayush, I'm saying that how can we classify receipts?
Sir, there are two types of receipts,
Huh?
revenue and capital receipts.
Perfect. And what are revenue receipts?
Um, so revenue receipts, revenue receipts don't have a claim.
Don't have a claim.
No.
Basically, see, Ayush,
Yeah.
whenever we define receipts, we will always classify the receipts on the basis of source of earning, source of receipts.
Source of earning.
If basically receipts, we are receiving certain amount from the regular source of operation, regular source of business, then it will be treated as a revenue receipt. As simple as this. And if we are receiving certain sum of money from the non-regular source, which is
Yeah.
not our regular activity, are treated as a capital receipts.
Yes, sir.
For example, like I am teaching you, and obviously for teaching, for rendering my services, I will be paid certain amount of money. So amount that I'll be receiving in the form of fees will be treated as which kind of receipt? Revenue or a capital?
Sir, can you just repeat, please? I didn't get you.
Basically, whatever the services I am rendering you, basically
Yeah.
I am teaching. So teaching is basically my regular activity, right?
Yes.
So whatever the fees I will receive on account of teaching, on account of rendering teaching services,
Yeah.
so it will be categorized either in the capital receipt or as a revenue receipt.
Revenue receipt, right?
Revenue receipt. All right.
Yeah.
But what if I have I sell this computer?
Yeah.
So after selling this computer, also I will receive certain amount of money, obviously.
Yes,
But
sir.
this amount cannot be treated as a revenue receipt because
Yeah.
selling of computer is not my regular activity.
Yes, sir.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So Samiksha,
Yes.
Samiksha, what are the various types of expenditures?
So there are two types: revenue expenditure and capital expenditure.
Very good. And what are capital expenditures?
It is that amount that the business, the proprietor spends to increase the earning capacity, which furnish it makes the assets better. For that, the money spent.
Okay. All right. So I think you have understood everything till now. So let's move forward. Next topic that we will be covering is trade receivables. Trade receivables. What are trade receivables? Amount that business will be receiving on account of sale of goods or services during the ordinary course of business are basically called trade receivables. Suppose let's say I have sold goods for rupees 10,000 to some person, and he has promised me that he will repay me the amount in next week. So basically amount that I'll be receiving next week will be treated as my trade receivables. So trade receivable, it is the amount receivable for the sale of goods or services rendered in the ordinary course of business. So trade receivable is not something that I have received. Trade receivable is something that I will receive in future for something that I have did or something I have sold to some other person. Trade receivables are basically sum total of debtors and bill receivable. Do you have any idea what are bill receivable? Debtors I have told you already. What are bill receivables? Give me a minute. Let me explain this. See, suppose this is Mr. X, and Mr. X sold goods on credit to Mr. Y. Value of goods sold is rupees 10,000. Rupees 10,000. All right. So Mr. Y will be treated as debtor for Mr. X. He is treated as debtors. All right. Mr. X sold goods to Mr. Y on credit. So Mr. Y will be treated as debtor. All right. What are bill receivable? Bill receivable is something, suppose I have prepared a note. And on which I have written, I promise to pay. I promise to pay rupees 10,000 to Mr. X on, for example, 5th of November 2021. And this note is basically signed by Mr. Y. Mr. Y signed this note. So what this note says, that Mr. Y will pay Mr. X 10,000 rupees on 5th November. So once the 5th November is arrived, Mr. X can take this note to Mr. Y and ask for the repayment. This note is basically called bills receivable. Bills receivable. You're getting my point. What are bills receivable? Bills receivable are basically bill of exchange. It is a note. It is a promissory note which is drawn by Mr. Y for Mr. X, which contains the promise by Mr. Y that he will repay the amount on 5th November or any particular date. And collective value of debtor and bills receivable are called trade receivables. So trade receivable include both. Trade receivable include both debtors as well as bills receivable. So debtors and bills receivable are basically same. Only difference is that in case of debtors, you are selling goods on credit, and there is no bill of exchange involved. There is no promise. There is no written promise by the debtor. So he's simply the debtor. But in case of bills receivable, you are selling goods on credit to some other person, and some other person is making promise in writing and issuing you a note. And against that note, you can ask for the repayment after arrival of that particular date for which he have made promise for. So this is the basically difference between debtor and bill receivable. And collective value of debtor and bills receivable are basically called trade receivables. Let's understand this on PPT. Trade receivables are sum total of debtors and bill receivable. Debtor is a person who owes amount to the enterprise. Listen carefully. Debtor is a person who owes amount to the enterprise against credit sale of goods and services. Which means that enterprise has basically sold goods to the person on credit, and the person to whom goods are sold on credit, he owes certain sum of money to the firm. So that person is basically called debtor. And what are bill receivable? Bill receivable means bill of exchange, basically note that on which a person makes a promise, that is called bill of exchange by a debtor. Debtor is making promise that he will make payment on a specified date, a specified future date. Then this basically promise, this note is basically called bills receivable. Is it clear to both of you? Sorry, is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is one more similar term which is called trade payables. And what is trade payable is just opposite of trade receivables. Trade payable is something that firm needs to pay. Firm has purchased goods on credit from some third party, and firm has to repay the amount against the goods and services that they have used. So for that, we use the term trade payables. Trade payable, basically, just like trade receivables are made up of two elements, debtors and bills receivables. Similarly, trade payables are also made up of two elements, creditors and bills payable. Creditors, who are creditors? Creditor is a person to whom our enterprise owes, to whom we have to make payment, are our creditors. Suppose I have taken an amount from Ayush, so Ayush will be my creditor. And if Ayush has taken some amount from me, so Ayush will be treated as a debtor for me. Is it clear? Debtor or creditor is both the terms are clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is bills payable. Bills payable is similar to bills receivable. Suppose I have borrowed certain sum of money or purchased certain amount of goods from some party, and against that purchase, I have issued a note. I have issued a note making a promise that I will, suppose I have issued this note making a promise that I will pay you this amount on a certain date of the certain date on the next month. Suppose I will pay this amount on 15th of November, 20th of November. So this promise or this note is basically called bills payable. And collective value of creditors and bills payables are known as trade payables. Okay. So till now we have what we have covered. We have, I think we have covered the meaning of liability. We have covered the meaning of liability. Then we have covered capital, and we have covered receipts and also expenditure, then trade receivable, trade payables, and one more thing that we will cover in today's session, that is drawings. Drawings are basically amount which is withdrawn or goods taken by the proprietor or partner for the personal use from the business. Suppose a person has made an investment of rupees 50 lakh in the business, and he withdrew let's say 5 lakh from that amount for his personal use, for any purpose, for any personal purpose, then it will be treated as a drawing. But remember, if you are withdrawing certain sum of money for business purpose, it will not be considered as a drawing. If you have made investment of 50 lakh and you are withdrawing, or you are using 5 lakh rupee for the payment of salary, for the payment of purchase of raw material, for purchasing plant, machinery, equipment or building, then it is not a drawing. Drawing term is basically used only when proprietor or the partner of the business or the owner of the business basically withdraw the amount from the business, withdraw the amount from the business, or taken the goods for his personal use, right? Suppose there are certain number of furniture in the business, and one of the partner wants to take say a few furniture for his personal use, so it will be treated as a drawing. What does a drawing do? Drawing basically reduces the value of capital in the business. Suppose we have made an investment of 50 lakh and we are withdrawing 5 lakh for our personal use. Now the value of capital will only be 45 lakh. All right. So drawings are basically amount which are withdrawn by the proprietor or partner of the business. Drawing reduces the capital of the owner. Is it clear? Everything that I have
Yes, sir.
taught you in today's session. So I'll be sharing you few questions. I will share the questions with Nishkarsh and he will forward the questions to you guys. These will be multiple choice questions. These are easy. Whatever we have covered in today's session and in the last class, questions will be strictly based on those topics only. And this will be basically is used to evaluate your overall understanding of the topics, right? So I'm requesting you that you must attempt all those questions, and on the basis of which I'll be able to evaluate whether you are getting all the whether you are able to understand the topic or not. All right. So I'll be sharing those questions with you through Nishkarsh. Samiksha, Steve, Ayush, is everything clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So what we have covered in today's session, we have covered liability, capital, receipts, expenditure, and drawing, and we have also covered trade payable, trade receivables, all these topics. So these are basic terminologies that we'll be using in the upcoming chapters. So these things must be clear to you, so that you can easily solve the questions that we will discuss in the upcoming classes. So after that, after there are three more things that I'll have to discuss in this chapter, and after this we will move to a new chapter, which is basically accounting questions that we will be doing probably in the next class.
Yes, sir.
And after that, from the third class, basically we will start the practical part of the accountancy.
Yes,
So
sir.
till now we were only discussing the basic concept and theoretical aspect. So from the next class onwards, we will be discussing the practical part of the accountancy. So it will be more interesting.
Okay, sir.
All right. So this is it for today. We'll see you in the next class. Till then, take care.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I will share these slides with you through Nishkarsh. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.